everyone loved. But nope.
We wouldn't even be a country, probably, somehow.
I don't know. Would that be?
It's one of those butterfly effect things.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Maybe, but
we'd be a country because they found it and they were like, well, we're going to use this shit anyway. It's just a matter of whether or not it's been more of the English side than say something else.
Sure. I thought you'd said, would England even be a country? And I was going to say they actually have a pretty good track record of running under a queen, so they probably would have been fine.
But not until then.
Yeah. Sure. So she would have been the first, but it would be fascinating to have the continued colonies of England, but historically speaking, also they kind of lost most of the empire, right? So at some point we still probably would have rebelled, well,
it's a matter of, so if they have more of an interest sooner, do they establish an even greater foothold? Do they wait till the same time? It's like how much of it is actually everything's a rolling knock-on effect of, your life and everything set before you was decided 1,000 years ago and 1,000 years before that anyway by a bunch of minute factors that have nothing to do with you. And yet at the same time, it's like your immediate everything.
Welcome to why we weren't recording, by the way. And we're totally doing a no topic because Alex is the only one who was not prepared and not me. Also,
sure,
all her.
I mean, I'm always prepared, whether or not.
How do the wheels of the bus feel, Alec?
Yeah, right.
We've thrown under them. Thunk.
I mean, I knew that it was going to be. It's like, no, I didn't do the homework because I got to set the topics. Andreas did not know that I did not do the homework, and he showed up unprepared anyway.
That was because of a scheduling conflict. That was not my fault. Therefore,
what conflict? The conflict was.
Therefore, it was Justin's fault because he moved the podcast and then canceled the podcast last weekend. Therefore, it's all Justin's fault. Like, how's the boss feeling, Justin?
I'm fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah, like me and the Man of Steel over here. So just
listen. If this last week is proven, as long as he doesn't have United Healthcare, he'll be fine.
Yeah, dude, holy crap. So that's not the no topic we wanted to talk about. I was
crazy stuff.
I was gonna
we'll get targeted.
I was gonna ask when you said Man of Steel if anyone's watched that Lois and Clark Superman show that just stopped or just ended, because that's supposed to actually be good, and I wanted to get an opinion on it. Not talk about assassinations.
It's surprisingly okay-ish. That is all I've ever heard on it.
That's also whatever. Like, it's good / like, it's not bad.
How does it compare to the Lois and Clark from the 90s?
How does anything?
I don't know. That was like a huge hit. Right?
That's peak TV. You know how I love that show.
Of course you do.
Yeah. I love it. I don't know if I still do.
I can only remember one episode in vague detail about that show, and that's the one where he loses his powers and they go to her.
Oh, the one clip I remember from that show is the one where everyone starts hating Superman and Superman tries to figure out why. So he uses his special look at the first word of every column vision to look at the subliminal message. It's making everyone hate Superman.
I wonder,
so like in a newspaper column, the first word of every line, and the first letter of every line, he just spells out a word or something. It's an acrostic or something. Oh wow, somebody's behind this to make.
I mean, that's perfect. That's like peak '60s and '70s Superman power to have, though.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
I know. I was like, I wonder if that's where I picked up that was a thing, because somebody tried to use that as like their code at one point, and I'm like, everybody knows this, don't they? And so now I'm wondering if like I was a kid and saw that episode, and that's where I picked that up.
I mean,
I don't remember.
At some point, it's just a trope of lazy writing. It's cool once, but the more you see it, it's kind of played out. Like if you ever, if I'm ever an evil genius and I have a secret lair, I am not having a subterranean complex with multiple fragile pillars. Because I just know that no matter how invincible I am, somebody's going to attack the pillars and destroy me. So,
it's a secret. No one will ever find you.
Go read the Evil Overlord list and don't.
Seriously. So, there's a throwback.
Yeah,
there's a throwback. Evil Overlord list.
Was it? It was Dresden actually. It's I think it gets referenced in Death Masks. So then Nicodemus must have read the Evil Overlord list because He was prepared for certain things that Dresden was thinking about.
I guess I never associated the Dresden verse with meme culture, but I guess it really is.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
for some reason,
very
for
much
some
is.
reason.
But the trick here, where it gets layered, is that's an internet meme. And so, like, did Dresden have somebody print it off for him? Like, did Murphy show up with a printout and just be like, "This is hilarious. Read this," like,
Probably.
or the
Murphy
werewolves,
is a boomer
maybe
printing off memes. But
you've got to know it's anachronistic, right? You got to understand that, because there was something else that happened in Death Masks that I'm like, crap. Oh, well, I mean, we talked about the payphone, right? So like the payphone, that's gonna be a thing that dates this series at this point. So
maybe like, had a different tabletop RPG group before the werewolves, or maybe the werewolves.
Dresden had more than one friend. Dresden.
So he had a tabletop D&D group with the werewolves. We know he did, right? So
yeah.
I just want to know where.
Sometime after book 2. That's after book 2. So maybe they just talked about it with him. He was like, "Wait, what? I don't get it," because he just hasn't seen any of those movies either.
I want to know which room in the castle is the meme room where he has all the printouts on the wall. So that
right. Well, then obviously he goes up to the wall with the yarn everywhere and starts pointing at it frantically, because that's also a meme. So, but yeah. I figured out how we can save the scene, though, for Death Masks and not have to make it anachronistic. So when he drops, the scene plays out exactly as is. He still beats his ass with a baseball bat. He still drops him 25 cents and says, "There's a payphone across the parking lot if you want to avoid that broken glass and whatever." And when he walks out, instead of them asking, "Hey, wait, aren't phone calls more expensive than that these days?" Be like, "Hey, wait, didn't they take that payphone out of there?" And then he's like, "Yeah," and then they still bust a gut. So
when's the last time that payphone actually worked? He's like, I don't know, 5 years ago.
Yeah, right. So,
hang on, was this a narration comment about the evil overlord list, or was it he said it to somebody else?
It's internal. It's his internal monologue.
So if it's internal monologue, then you just have to have the fan theory that the entire series is just his deposition to the Watchers or something.
Yeah.
That's why
I maintain that they're his journals, right? And that's why I maintain that he's got to survive the series, even though word of Jim is that he hasn't decided that yet. And so it's like, at a minimum, all of this information has been relayed to Bob, and Bob finishes his journals somehow. But maybe they get dictated to Maggie, and Maggie does it in his voice or tone. Or
Mouse
something.
writes it.
Yes, obviously. Wishbone. So
he's going to have a higher education than Harry, as we've established. So
yeah, he cheats.
Well, that he's going to go to school.
Yeah, right. Because he studied under a wizard, so obviously education, So he. Never mind. Yeah, that was going to get weird for a second. So anyway, well, yes, you don't know where I was in my head.
Show from getting weird, God forbid.
No, weirder, but yeah. So. Anyway.
Too weird?
Yeah.
Yes. I decreed in this moment, for me, it was going to get too weird. So
that's fair.
Yep.
Andres, how are you celebrating this Krampuschlaufseason? Or however you pronounce it.
That's not what
No, that's what they eat. That's
right,
the holiday.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Is that the fermented pig's blood?
That first of all, it does that. I'm pretty sure that does not mean anything, but that sounded German, not Danish. There are big differences.
There's a very subtle difference.
No.
There is no difference.
Norwegian, Danish, or Swedish, sure. It's like you could mistake that for being the same language, even though I would have trouble understanding the others. But I could see that. But German, no.
You're all the
That's
same.
not right.
How about this? I'm just going to say it sounds like Finnish. Does that insult you?
Yeah, there you go.
It's
a completely different language family. That's all I know.
Yes.
I
cannot understand people talking Finnish at all. Like, that's even worse than German. Like, that's completely different.
It is a completely different language family. There isn't an overlap because it's Finno-Ugric versus Germanic.
Yeah, the Hungarians are closely related, but not the
Finnish, Estonian, and Hungarian are closer related to each other than anything else.
Oh, I thought Hungarian was one of them, right?
Yeah, Finnish, Hungarian, and Estonian.
Oh, Hungarian. Okay, yeah.
And you know what all these places have in common? They all eat
borscht. So, what was your question?
You know what else?
Yes, they're all white.
I've never been there, so that's what they also have in common. So,
well, you can't go based on where you're your travel is all within the contiguous.
I thought we were just
States.
saying random bullshit, so I was contributing. You know,
If we go by what exists based on where Justin has been in life, I don't even exist.
that's true. Yeah, I'm my state count is increasing, but my country count is still tragically
1.
small. So it's 2. So
Canada's just America's hat. It doesn't count.
no, I haven't been to Canada actually.
Is state count
so.
something people talk about? Like,
Yeah.
Manosphere talks about body count.
Yeah, it's.
I wouldn't
Well, I mean, I guess it depends.
associate
but,
it like that,
I do.
Like my brother and I had a slight running competition for how many states we'd been, because we always traveled at the same time together for all our family trips. But then he went to do some shows and stuff when he was doing theater work. So he went to other states that I wasn't necessarily going to, except then I went to visit him in those states so I could keep pace with
Nice.
things like that.
So
Yeah.
did you have one of those like basic bitch Pinterest things of like, look, we got like this sand from that state or something and put it on a board?
Oh
and,
no,
like,
I didn't take like a rock from every state. I just like to keep track of which state. Like I at some point I'd like
print
to
it out
go
map
every
and color it
state.
in or something.
How
like
are you
that.
supposed to teleport back to these states if you don't have an item from these particular states? Like,
I just thoughts and portals. I don't need these totems like you weaklings.
yeah. My when my wizard finally got high enough level to learn teleport, he would start collecting rocks, and it took him like 3 sessions to figure out why he was grabbing a rock from literally every single place they went. And I was like, I've got a catalog so I can get back to all these places, because all it says is you need an item from the location, and then you've got like a 97% success rate or something like that.
How,
See, I
how
would prefer
close
if you could just
does
like
this
mark the
need to be?
physical spot, like just touch it and it like puts a seal on it, and then you could go
Pee
like something
on
that's
it.
just going to stay there. You know,
Yeah.
Peeing
Yeah,
on it is
just-
hilarious.
Yeah.
if that
Like-
works
like
too, but I
how-
feel like that would evaporate at some point.
I did have a different wizard that had a teleportation circle in his place, but we just kind of hand waved that as flavor, because in order to do that in the rules, you have to cast it like every day for a year. And I was like, that's a whole lot of money. So, but anyway.
Right, but like how serious does this rock need to be? Of like, if I wanted to travel to the state of Maine and I had one rock from one tiny little beach off to the side of it, but I want to travel to the inner part of it towards Canada or something, like how far can this rock take me?
Within the boundaries of what is considered Maine.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue that it'd probably have to be pretty local to the beach. Like if you wanted to get technical, you maybe there's some mishap of you being, like in the beach area, and whether or not how close you got to the shore or something. Like if you rolled badly on the chart, maybe that's what we'd come up with. But like it's thaumaturgy, right? So like underneath it all, you have made a connection, part of the small, connected to the whole basically. And so, it's magic. It's a little bit of will, it's a little bit of whatever, but the conduit is that thaumaturgic connection. So there's typically a little bit of like, you've got to envision the place, and you've got, theoretically you would have been there and stuff like that. But D&D allows for like scaling. Like if you've only ever heard of the place, you could try to teleport there, but it's probably going to be a bad idea, right? If you've been to the place, that's a whole lot more successful. But you have to, if you have something from the place, then, it's all but guaranteed. So,
And don't waste your rock from Maine. You can go to better states than Maine.
Hang on. So
Sure.
could you just have like, but how do you know that the thing is from there? How do you know somebody didn't just accidentally drop a rock from Baldur's Gate off an island
Well,
or something?
in
You know what I mean?
theory, an iceberg did at some
I mean?
point just take that rock and put it somewhere. So you could
Really?
probably-
Why don't you
Right.
just take like a little rock in your pocket, use it as a traveling stone, and just touch it to places, and then just put it around like a chain around your neck, and then that's just your traveling rock. It's touched everywhere.
I'd probably allow that as a DM, right? But in my case, I physically retrieved these rocks. These were from places that I had been, and so like one that's kind of notable to me in particular was we had found some ruins somewhere in the middle of nowhere. We were kind of like wandering through some wilderness and got lost, and we found this place in the middle of nowhere, and we were like, hey, this is a safe place. It wasn't where we intended to be, but if we ever needed a safe house, nobody but us knows where the hell this is. I'm taking a rock. Like, so that kind of became our safe house. Not we had never gotten back to use it or anything like that. But yeah, I'm not like going to the market and buying random gemstones and stuff and being like, man, I wonder where this will take me. Oh, it's lava. I'm in the lava. You know,
honestly,
like,
though, you know what Tumblr would say about this conversation? They'd just be like, "Lot bunny."
Sure,
it's totally great. I just what you just like a. It's like a Russian roulette, but for teleportation spells. Like you don't know where you're gonna go.
sure.
Like you pour all the pills in one bowl. You just try them. Just pour all the rocks in a bowl. You just try them.
That's a very
Luckily, we don't have
California
to deal
thing.
with Tumblr things anymore because they died.
No,
And then it turns out, to be like it's from the wall, and you're just like trapped halfway in a building.
I think there's a specific, you can't be teleported into something, but like going
You
back
can
to the
teleport
evil
into open
over.
space.
Sure, maybe theoretically, but going back to the evil overlord list, right? If you're a sufficient high level mage, you can set up teleportation traps. So just redirect people who think they can teleport into your lair into a jail cell, of sufficient, countermeasures and stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, it's kind of like
X-Men comic where Nightcrawler was trapped in a cell underground, and so he had to teleport himself directly up as far up as he could possibly go, and then he was just up in the air somewhere, and then he was able to see where he was going.
Sure.
Yeah.
There was a fun thing in Dungeons and Dragons Online. You could use Dimension Door for them. It was kind of like a teleport or like fast traveling, because you were looping around town and whatever. But there was like a 5 or 10% chance or something of a mishap, and when that happened, it would teleport you basically 500 feet above the marketplace, and so you just see people just like fall all the way down to splat. And I mean, it basically happens like one time, because then you've got like a featherfall clicky or something like that to counteract if that happens. Or if you're a wizard, you just cast it again, because the chance of you mishapping twice are pretty low. But it's always funny your first time, or to see somebody do it their first time and be like, yep, that guy splattered. Anyway, we were talking about alternate history earlier, and the one that came up for me again recently, because I found out we've got a mutual friend kind of from Ecuador, and just reading up on their history and the Incan Empire and stuff like that got me back on the bandwagon kick of like how close the Incans were to possibly not being conquered by the Spaniards, right? By the conquistadors and stuff. And I had another kind of mutual friend being like, hey, I've really started to get into history. Who's got some random like historic events I can read a book about or something? And I was like, no particular event comes to mind, but like this section of history is always fascinating to me, because if you do an alternate Earth history, right? I don't remember where I'd come across the idea, but it's just like if there had not been a perfect shitstorm for the Incan Empire, they might have actually been able to put up a fight. They might have at least been able to stop the initial incursion. Like, obviously, there's also a technological, aspect there. I'm pretty sure the Spaniards had firearms and, steel armor and some things that are kind of going to make a thing. And you've still got to contend with the virus. But they were already kind of weakened by a famine, weren't they? And then they were also going through like a civil war of succession. So those things certainly didn't do them any favors. But yeah,
I mean, how many conquistadors were really there too? I mean, there's only so many people you can carry over on a boat. It's not
right.
EU4 where you can have thousands of people just chilling for fun. You need more than that too.
Well,
and it's in a hospital terrain. The Incans were had to have been very well defended.
I think that's part of the math, right? It's like say it's 100 dudes, 500 dudes, whatever it is. I don't have my talking points in front of me, but if the Incans just disappeared those guys because they were at the height of their power and whatever, how long before Spain sent more to look for them?
I think part of the danger there is, I mean, you could look at it outside of a lens of colonialism. Just look at the lens of divisions. in sci-fi, there's always that trope of the aliens coming is what united humanity, and until then. But I think there's actually this game that kind of has that premise where what happens if aliens really did come to invade? Well, it probably would just break out into our own factions, and they could play us against each other. And that's
Sure.
any outside force coming in will always find some kind of jealousy or power struggle somewhere, and be able to use that.
There's going to be countries that let them land and try
right,
to
because I think
deals with
when
them.
part of the advantage of a conversation like this, we're able to call them the Incans without realizing they probably had like a half dozen different social divisions of their own,
Sure.
and
They
power
were an
struggles in
empire.
houses, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's always going to be dynastic conflict of some kind. And
But that's a
resentment of
little
some
more
kind. It's
stark.
it's just easier to see with the Aztecs because Aztecs were particularly brutal. But I mean, the Incans did a little bit of that too, as I recall. There's always going to be somebody who doesn't like having their children sacrificed.
But
Nah.
that probably is a little more stark in something like, here, this type up here in the Americas, where the Native American tribes were all very, very, like, even with their confederations, they were like 12, 13, 15 different tribes under that. And they were all very different. And so that was more based on an alliance. Whereas, yes, because even like something like when Napoleon had an empire, you're always going to have people that are willing to fight back that were taken over. Like, just because they're not under the empire now and you're supposed to fight for them doesn't mean they're gonna.
Right.
Except Poland. Poland wanted to be a thing.
They've tried so hard to be a country. Look at them go. So
Listen, man, Polish is ours. They're very, very good. Or they were. I don't think they're a thing anymore, technically. Because nobody's riding in on horseback unless you're actually in. Never mind. Unless you're actually on the Ukrainian battlefield right now, they're probably using some horses. Because they're running out of tanks. Anyone else? Feel free. Jump in.
Just keep digging. Just keep digging.
yeah, right.
What? This is not digging. They're running out of tanks, so they're going to be riding horses soon. I can't help that.
I think there are things between tanks and horses that people might try first,
Yeah, name one.
like a car.
Yeah,
They
right.
can get giant apes. I've heard that
Electrical
guerrilla warfare is
scooter.
very, very effective.
Dad joke. Good job.
Nailed it.
Yeah. I'm not going to react to it, but I'm going to give you a solid 8 out of 10 on that one. So, yeah.
I'll take it.
I feel like an 8 out of 10 warrants a reaction.
You would think that, wouldn't you? But I got my pride, so
Where? Can I see it?
no, they're hungry and I haven't fed them today, so they're in the basement, safe.
So they're more like your gremlins at this point.
Well, pride of lions. So I had to try and get a little bit back. So anyway, really, you guys aren't just mad about anything? Because I'm about to talk about Fallout 4 because that's where I've been this week. So yeah.
No, I've had a
You
pretty
can
good
play it.
week. It's like
Yeah, you didn't do the homework. You didn't even come on.
Right.
I
I've been playing good video games. It's been
It's
great.
coming up basis for Andreas.
This Fallout 4 is going to be ragging on it because that sounds quite fun.
No, I love it. So like this is like my 5th or 6th playthrough, and like it's definitely lost, some of the magic, right? Where it's just like, the exploration part takes kind of a backseat, but it's been long enough
I would
also
think the
since I
plot
played
would
it.
too, right? The plot would too. It'd be more about the combat and the gameplay loop.
It depends. Right now, the exploration part of it is the nostalgia. And, I don't want to give Butthead any credit, but I'm playing it the way that he thinks that all of his players play his games anyway, which is
He's not
instead
thinking
of
about it.
no, instead of following whatever path that they laid out and whatever, which there is actually a decent path in Fallout 4, even though it's not the path you think you should be on. I basically just fucked off east and I was like, I wanted to see if I could make it to the Institute and join up with them before I ran into any other faction, and that didn't work out. I overshot it, looped back around, and more or less wound up in with the Brotherhood again, which is, they're kind of my favorite faction anyway. I'll say it. So everybody who hates them for being xenophobic, take your shots. But yeah, so I'm pretty much playing it straight, but it's kind of interesting because I feel like they also added some stuff with the Enclave since I had played last, and so that had a fun little game moment where I was basically ping-ponging back and forth between a Deathclaw and a dude in power armor, and I did eventually manage to kite them together to kill each other. So that's where I got my first suit of power armor. So I don't know.
Well, because you just straight up avoided them first town. Okay, I see. Yeah.
I didn't go to what is it? It's a C, right? Concord, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't go there. In fact, like I did loop around. I did wind up with the Brotherhood. I did all of their side quests, but then it wasn't like advancing the main story. And so I'm like, what the hell did I miss? Like, am I not high enough level? What is it? What's going on? Because I just hit like level 20 and a lot of stuff kicks off around there. And they're like, you should probably advance the main quest. And I'm like, shit. Been avoiding Concord. So then I went in there with, all of these weapons and, got my first suit of power armor because that's where you're supposed to get your first suit, everything like that. So I finally had to start doing that. And they just showed up in force because I finally was doing the main quest and everything. But yeah. So anyway.
I've never played Fallout 4.
I
haven't played
fun.
any Fallout game other than some New Vegas, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've talked about it a bunch of times. Like, for whatever reason, I could never get into 3. I feel like I should just sit down and play New Vegas because still everybody says that's their favorite, and give it a try. But I think Fallout 4 just has like enough width, for me that it's like, if I don't want to do this thing, I don't have to. If I don't want to deal with all of your guys' backstories, I don't have to. If I don't want to play your quests, I don't have to.
Yeah.
If I don't want to use VATS, I don't have to. Just like I can play it just however I want, is part of it. And, the story's pretty thin, right? At the end of the day, it's not like, super magical and everything like that. The Institute's a little interesting and stuff until you figure it out the first time. But their motivations are stupid, right? So like
they don't make any sense as far as I understand. And I admit I've never played the game. I have just watched the Internet Historian videos, which is how I know that it was the city of Concord.
Sure.
But I am constantly getting stuck on just like how stupid the Institute is, and I can't understand it. Like, there's so many things that they just like. You could have just like a simple editing passover of like make these things line up to each other would have made them better, but no, none.
Sure.
Nothing.
Is the Institute the faction that's like watching everybody else?
Yeah.
I saw a cool short about Fallout 4, how it's like, they have cameras everywhere. They're watching people, and you may wonder, what are these cameras? And it turns out that there's this paranoid character who tells you all kinds of crazy shit where very little of it checks out. But one of them is the Institute use crows to watch you, and then this guy shows the picture from the monitor, goes to the place in the game, and every place there is a crow in the camera angle.
Yeah,
so that one's actually true. I thought that was cool.
Well, it's funny too because it parallels a British meme, right? Birds are fake; they're government drones that are watching you. So, but yeah,
I would say definitely play New Vegas if that's what you like about the Fallout series. I grew up on the OG Fallout,
sure.
So like, it is really a wonderful franchise. But I don't know if Fallout 1 and 2 are really accessible unless you're kind of in that retro mode where you're willing to put up with a little bit of nonsense. If it's just a little bit, it's a little touch too precious. If you're not in a 90s CRPG mode,
So
the same
what
way
I've
that
heard, because I've
Wasteland
asked
is
this
coming.
question of whether I should go back and play the old Fallout games. I've never really played any Fallout, so it would be like a huge endeavor on my part. But that Fallout 1 is probably very aggravating in gameplay, very much like how Arcanum is. 'Cause the same
Exactly.
people who made
No,
it.
exactly like that.
Yeah, and I played a little bit of Arcanum,
Arcanum's
and it
worse.
is
Arcanum
rough.
is worse, but it's that kind of thing.
Yeah. Like the maps apparently work exactly the same in terms of the traveling and things like, and that was weird and hard to get used to in Arcanum, and then Arcanum was hard. I did not get very far in it.
I think part of Arcanum's problem is that it has a lot of gameplay systems that are thematic, and until you get the game, you don't get the system. Like the whole magic system is borked. The guns are needlessly complex in Arcanum. There's a lot to love about it, but it's mostly in the writing side. I'd say that what Fallout 1 is more accessible than that.
I have read that, or even seen, I think, that people talk about the Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2 being like kind of a love letter to the 90s CRPG in terms of feel and everything, except, it's not as janky. So that might be something to like a good entry point, and the story's supposed to be good. They're supposed to be quite good games if you like CRPGs. Pillars of Eternity or Divinity? Is it Divinity?
No, I think Divinity is an action RPG. I haven't played. I think that is, but Pillars of Eternity is by.
Pillars of Eternity maybe. 1 and 2. Yeah,
I've touched Pillars of Eternity a little bit. I like Fallout. Fallout's doing something interesting. I think more interesting to me in its world building than Pillars of Eternity was doing, which is trying to do the high fantasy thing.
Yeah,
and everything. I'm too much of a Tolkien guy, I think, to have much patience for a lot of high fantasy world building. It's not like as well realized as that, and that's an unrealistic standard, I get. But I think with Fallout, it was such a unique thing, right?
Sure. It was
at least even it's just setting the whole idea of after nuclear war, what kind of society would arise. It's not how would the United States adapt. It's what kind of societies would arise after the nuclear war.
Well, yeah, there's that, and then it just highlights the worst of humanity. And this is even like pre-war, right? The Enclave are a direct faction descended from the U.S. government at the time, and so they've maintained all their fascism and secrecy and everything else that was prevalent in wartime America up until the bombs fell and everything like that.
Sure.
In this universe, obviously, despite parallels for today, but
that faction was introduced in Fallout 2. So in Fallout 1, that was not even part of the world building.
Gotcha.
Fallout 1 was really. It was more of a story of hubris with almost nothing surviving from pre-war. The Brotherhood was the U.S. military kind of doing its own thing. A little faction of the U.S. military had mutinied, and now they're their own thing, and they're this weird techno-fetishist cult. And they've kind of lost track of the original mission. There's let's see, what's one of the first? There's a lot of little towns. Around there's a one town that's founded that becomes Shady Sands. Obviously, and you know that if you played New Vegas or Fallout 2 or seen the show. Let's see what else is in that.
So you did watch the show then?
I did watch the show. I ended up not with my wife though. It was too much.
Yeah,
a little bit too gory.
How'd you find it?
I think it got across something of what I like in the setting, but I think a lot of it was. I think a lot of it was more directly political than I think the original Fallout games were, which I think the more original Fallout games are more about hubris, right? You hear about Vault-Tec, but Vault-Tec doesn't survive, and that's kind of the point, right?
Sure.
You hear about the U.S. government doing these evil things, but it hasn't survived. That's the point. And what's survived? A bunch of people with two-headed cows, right? And they're just scraping away and trying to. Yeah, I think the one thing that's really interesting with the Fallout thing is really, if there's one faction that tries to adapt to the Wasteland and make it their own and live out of the Wasteland, it's the mutants in the first game. But the cool reveal of that is that the mutants are sterile and they're unsuited to be a master race, and that idea is how you defeat the final boss without a boss fight. That's how you defeat him in the dialogue trees. You point that out to him, that he's ill adapted to it. So the plans and hubris and failure is kind of the point of the first game. That's just the first game. Even the second game was delving into some of these. What about the what about the original pre-war world has survived? There's a new Reno, right? There's a Reno. They're basically just mobsters in Reno. It's that kind of thing. Marcus shows up. He's in New Vegas. That's where he first shows up. Is in Fallout 2, and it's a little bit more twee. Kind of gets away from that. So the franchise is, I don't know. I'm not married to one idea of the franchise, but I think there's something pure in that original vision of Fallout that's really admirable and worth exploring. But maybe it's too janky. Maybe the gameplay is too much. I'm not able to approach it with.
Hasn't there been anything that explores in RPG settings for computers, like for video games, like Fallout, like a post-apocalyptic rebuilt society kind of thing? Surely there's more than just Fallout.
Yeah, there is. It's called Destiny. So,
there's Wasteland, right? Wasteland was the inspiration for that. But
sure. No, I mean there's a bunch, right? But it depends on how soon after the apocalypse you want to, because you've got the Division. That's another one.
Oh my god, that's a good game. I actually really like that game.
Yeah.
Were there zombie games? I don't think there were zombie games in the 90s, really. I don't think zombies had kicked off yet.
I mean, zombies obviously been around since the 60s, in pop culture, but the main zombie wave didn't hit until the 2000s, because that's where you had, the remake of Dawn of the Dead, and you had 28 Days Later and everything like that. So,
I think there's more niches, more horror than that. I think what you would have is in the 90s there was a lot of high fantasy sword and sorcery, Elder Scrolls type things, and that was generally what you had in RPGs. And there wasn't a lot of RPGs in a setting other than that. Just like with adventure games, when the inspiration for Monkey Island was that the guy who made Monkey Island was just tired of fantasy adventure games and wanted to do something different. So he did, I like pirates, let's do pirates. So they this kind of experimenting with the setting a bit and trying to break conventions a bit. And I think Fallout was originally doing that too.
Do we count Myth and Riven in here, because those were in the 90s, and they're kind of puzzle games, but
those are after Monkey Island.
Gotcha.
And those are breaking the mold too. And the big attraction there was the coolest graphics you've ever seen, and you use a CD-ROM player.
Right.
Man, I'm so old. This is history.
So old.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That was my childhood.
It's older than 20 years of history now too, so you could talk about it on the history subreddit. That's how old it is. So.
Man.
Yeah, it's no longer current events.
28 days later and 28 years later is coming out.
No, the history subreddit talks about contemporary history all the time. They just talk about it with veiled references to things that happened.
It's not actually been 28 years since 28 days, though.
Yeah, but it's close enough.
It's really close, though. It's certainly closer than
it wasn't, David, because I was a teenager, and I'm not that old.
No, because didn't it came out in 2000, didn't it? Because I always remembered that Dawn of the Dead remake came out in 2004, and I thought that was always my milepost, but 28 Days Later came out before that. 2002. Okay. Yeah. So, and then it was 28 Weeks, right? Was the sequel. So
yes.
Yeah. So I know,
out, right? Isn't there 28 months coming out?
No, 28 years. 28 years is the
28 years. 28 years. That's right. 28 years.
Yeah. Yep. So
they should wait till 2030 if they want to make it accurate, but whatever.
I mean, it's coming out in 2025. That's 23 years. So
then you should have just waited longer.
That's what I'm saying.
Holy crap. Even if I wasn't going to go see this, which I obviously am, look at the cast. Like, holy crap. Where did they get money for these guys? Cillian Murphy, Ralph Fiennes, Aaron Killiman.
I imagine most of them are going to be dead within the first hour.
Well,
So they
possibly.
don't have to pay
You know,
him
if
as
I
long.
know anything about these movies.
Cillian Murphy is because he's the star in the first one, right? So he's probably
That's
like
fair.
that's like one of his biggest big movies, the first
Yeah.
big movies.
Are those really big names though? I know they have
Yeah.
big character roles.
Voldemort.
Ralph Fiennes thinks those names.
Like,
Ralph Fiennes is the biggest
I don't know
name. He's done a lot of schlock.
I mean, Cillian
mean,
Murphy is
Cillian's
on
pretty
par
big.
with
Great actor,
him
but
now.
he's kind of
Ever since Peaky Blinders,
if
he's
you
kind
know
of been
who they
playing-
are and they've mostly acted in the last 20 years, then I'd say they're a big name because, you know.
I mean,
It's 28
definition.
Days
But
Later,
that's-
Peaky Blinders, Sunshine, Oppenheimer. Cillian Murphy is now one of those very successful actors.
Cillian Murphy has done collaborations with Christopher Nolan and a TV show.
Inception,
Okay.
Batman Begins.
Batman, yeah.
I was going to go with Oppenheimer since that's the one everyone cares about.
Right. Still haven't seen it, but I kind of get the gist.
Me neither.
Yeah, things
You read a
blow up.
history book?
I am aware of, you know.
Everyone
things
knows the
that
quote,
exploded.
I am become death, destroyer of worlds, therefore they've seen Oppenheimer.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's crazy that I didn't even make the connection that 28 Days Later was like one of his big, like, I don't think I've seen anything before that he was in. He did
Probably.
like a dozen or so
That would have been one
movies.
of his early stuff, I imagine. I
Yeah.
think the first thing I ever saw him in was probably, or at least that I was aware of him as a person, was probably Inception.
Oh wow. Yeah, no. I mean, I was aware of him, but
Not
yeah,
even the
like
Batman movie?
yeah,
I thought-
Batman Begins.
Okay, well, see, but that would have been
2005.
retroactive because, like, I like Batman Begins, but I would not have, like, he was not somebody that I was like, okay. When The Dark Knight rolled around, then I would, because both of them would have been out by then.
Sure. Yeah,
But yeah,
interesting.
no.
But I mean, I think the other thing you got to realize, right, is if we're going to talk about the history of zombie movies, like up until the 2000s and that wave, right, like 28 Days Later still has a very small budget, whereas, like, you know, having James Gunn and shoot, what's his face,
Zack Snyder?
Schneider do, you know, the reboot,
Rob
and everything
Schneider.
like that. Nice. That was like as big as it got, right? Before that, they were all very low budget movies bordering on like college level effort, right? Like go look at all of the movies that people tell you to
Heck,
watch before the 2000s.
George Romero, right?
Well, yeah, he is the
George
only
Romero
one that
just-
had any budget or anything to work with, but
Well,
I'm even talking
not at
like
first, right? I'm pretty sure he didn't at
Oh,
first.
yeah, not Night of the Living Dead, for
Like, Night of the
instance.
Living-
That was
Right, so
that black
Night of the
and white
Living-
thing where everyone's shambling around.
At least the
which
way Red
just
Letter
is
Media talks about
reinforcing
George
the
Romero.
point that I'm making, right? Like, so the fact that you've got named actors that you can recognize is still a big deal for zombie movies. So, like, Land of the Dead is one of the best, you know, acted movies for who's in that one, just because, you know, because of their pedigree. It's like,
Well,
I mean, not like John Leguizamo was what he is today, right? But still, like, you've got names.
yeah,
Dennis Hopper, you know,
I-
so
weird recognizable names in franchise things is when you have like the big name Oscar actors or directors doing kind of the Marvel stuff. So I think that the real point where you have that turn is not when Sam Raimi does Spider-Man or Patrick Stewart or Ian McKellen are in X-Men. I think the turning point for something like that is when you have freaking Kenneth Branagh doing Thor, right? That's when you have, and so it's kind of like the schlocky pulp stuff, but you have the big name, real talent, recognized serious drama.
Whoa,
Like,
big
Kenneth Branagh-
big name, real talent.
I'm talking about, well, I'm
You
talking
know,
like
like World
he
War
literally
Z
got
with
Oscars for
Brad Pitt.
Shakespeare, right? Literally Shakespeare. That's like
Because Kenneth
prestige
Branagh
stuff.
is the real name, big talent.
I think so, right? It's not like, well,
He's
you see
the-
it, George Clooney and Batman, but that was George Clooney's start of his film career, basically. And
Restarted.
yeah, right. So
I was going to say by then he
So-
would have done the Tarantino movie and everything. So, and it's not like he wasn't big. In
Tarantino was an indie director, right? And then he became an institution,
So
maybe not by Pulp Fiction. I think. what is
Yeah,
it?
but I'm
Was
saying he
Pulp
would
Fiction-
But
have
so-
done from.
Yeah.
I think George Clooney would have been in from Dusk Till Dawn before Batman and Robin. When did that come out? That was '98.
I don't. When people talk about their favorite Tarantino movies, I don't think they talk about that weird vampire toe-looking movie.
Why not?
Isn't that what the movie
Sure,
is?
plenty of
That's
people. I think plenty of
From
people.
Dusk Till Dawn is like you're talking to a Dresden Cruise, so maybe
I
we're
suppose
a
so.
little
I
bit
suppose so.
out,
Fair enough.
But, yeah. So
Can't believe that you used Kenan as like an example. Why not got Gary Oldman, who even did like some of the more schlucky movies, I guess.
Gary Oldman does all sorts of shit.
Yeah, he's the best. He's probably the best actor
actors
I
do
can
a lot
think
of
of on the
schlock.
top
I
of
mean,
my head.
there's
He's
like
like-
maybe
there's a
two
difference between
people out there that
character actor
have
and
always
star.
ever been in something serious or good. Like everybody does schlock. Charles Dance is in almost nothing
Yeah.
but schlock.
right,
Yeah,
that
what
man
I'm
is a
saying is-
national treasure.
Right, so Gary Oldman is great, but he's great because he's a character actor who's invisible. I'd say he should have been a leading man ages ago, but he's just too good of an actor to be a star.
But then
Right.
why do you consider Kenneth to be a better actor?
Because it's more. I think it's more about prestige. I don't think it's more about quality of acting so much.
Branagh
as
is an
prestige.
institution, as a part of the institution of actors and the theater actors and the Shakespeare, and like he has
Right.
all of those highfalutin medals and ribbons and everything of why.
Right. And Patrick Stewart had that too, but what did he do first? He did Star Trek: The Next Generation first, and that kind of put him in that bubble of the geek stuff. And Patrick, he hated it at first too.
I just find
I would say he
that
did all
Kenneth.
Shakespeare stuff.
I don't think Kenneth is a bad actor or writer, and okay, well, he's a bad director, but
Well, probably so. I don't know.
he's just he's nothing outstanding to me. He's good. Like, no question, he's good, but he just wasn't.
True.
I was thinking crime de
Yeah,
la
my-
crime. I don't think Kennenberger.
I guess I wasn't so much saying. I guess I wasn't trying to say like, in terms of good actors doing things. I just, we need good talent. Having all the star-studded cast for this zombie movie. I guess what I was trying to say was you have a star-studded cast for a zombie second sequel movie now because it's become an IP and a franchise and an institution, and we're post Marvel where they're still kind of trying to catch that lightning again. They want that
sure.
Infinity War money again.
Everything is an IP. Everything is going to go. I mean, they set up Moana 3 for crying out loud.
They set up Moana
2.
3.
Even
Yes.
I.
I thought
Yeah.
2
So.
2 has been getting some bad reviews. How was it? Was it okay?
So I think the problem with 2 is that it doesn't really stick to the format of 1, and I think in 1 there was a lot of wonder and there was a lot to like sink your teeth into, but in 2 they kind of do like they're like, oh, look at the plucky sidekicks, and I'm like, yeah, that's not what we're here for. At least
Yeah,
that's
where a
not
lot
what
of
I
the
was there
sequels go
for.
wrong.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly what I was thinking. And I think by the end it kind of gets its feet back and everything like that. But I would say it's just okay. Like I didn't hate it, but there were definitely parts of it that I hated. And, at the end it pretty much got back to where it was going. But then it was like, here comes Moana 3. And I'm like, really? Like,
but the biggest problem that's going
No.
to kill a Moana 3, even with all those problems, is probably the fact that they're doing the live action of the first one right off of this one. Like,
right.
that shouldn't be a thing to begin with. But even if
Right.
it is going to be a thing, it shouldn't be a thing this soon.
Right.
Does The
exactly.
Rock play?
Yes,
himself.
yes, yeah.
He
They're
does.
all the voice actors, I think, are playing the exact same roles, which is like I
What?
guess it's vague.
What is even the
Well,
point?
It
Like-
vaguely makes sense because they're all of that general origin or supposed to be.
Anymore, right? You're modeling the character off of the actor, right? As often as not, right? So,
Yeah,
but
it's
still,
why
like,
are you bothering?
exactly. Like, why didn't you just make it, live action in the first place, or leave it animated, or whatever? So, next you're going to tell me there's a live action Aladdin or something. So,
All the live action.
Okay.
I mean,
I will
they're
say this.
blatant cash grabs.
Live action Moana, if that was the first time they did something like that, and it was a little longer, I'd be, oh, that's interesting. Like the Cinderella one was pretty good. By the way, who directed that one? I'm pretty sure it's Kenneth Branagh. Anyway,
jeez,
So that
you got a crush on this director.
I was gonna say,
no.
you're right.
But
That was
like
probably the least-
Aladdin. My beef with Aladdin.
Wait, hold up, hold up.
No.
You can't just
Aladdin
say
has
that
a
and then
drive-by.
try and move on.
Yep, that's
Okay.
a drive-by. Let him have it.
Okay,
No,
I'll
my
take it
beef
with your
Aladdin specifically. It's that movie is not about Aladdin. It's not about Jasmine. It's not about Jafar. It's about Robin Williams, right? That's the point of the movie. They wanted a movie with Robin Williams to do Robin Williams things, and Robin Williams is such a character he can only be contained in animation, right? And that's like the whole. They spend so much time talking that up that I believe it, and then they do a live action version. and it's not, and of course it's not with Robin Williams. It can't be.
Right.
I get that. They have to do a different thing now. But if the concept and the identity of even that specific IP is either Robin Williams or Dan Castanella doing a Robin Williams impression, then just keep it to be its own thing. But of course, it's Disney money.
I think Disney and Robin Williams would disagree on your take on that for the original
Really?
Aladdin. But yeah,
they
screwed him over that, didn't they? Or
well, they
was
did
that
originally,
the
but
one
they
got
made
him
up for
back?
it. He did return. He did return, right?
Well, eventually, but yeah, like I mean, there was a bad blood for like a long time over.
It was.
Yeah, so that's why I just find it funny that you're like, yeah, well, the whole point is for
the whole point
Robin
was
Williams,
to do that.
Will.
That's how they sold him on doing it for under.
No, that's how they sold
rates.
the movie. That's how he didn't want the movie sold. It's like he didn't want to be the thing that they were marketing towards
That's
kids
true.
and whatever. It was a matter of.
But I think it's a good argument. That is something that's true. If you're gonna have Robin Williams doing kids stuff in a kids movie, it's very effective and uniquely effective for him, particularly to be animated, literally animated, because he was such an animated guy in his stage persona.
Oh, sure, but I mean if that movie was just him doing all that, I think it's underselling the
Well, it kind of was just that.
No, that is I think what has been taken and distilled by Disney over the years as, oh, look what we did with this, and we're going to take this wrong lesson from it. If there was absolutely no underlying story and nobody to root, like he's a vehicle. You still got to drive it.
And that I'll agree with that too. Maybe I just drank the wrong Kool-Aid from the Disney marketing.
Well,
team.
it's the mistake they make with most of their sequels is they felt like the second and third Aladdins and the second Toy Story slightly does this, but like it's still a very good movie where the focus becomes more on the new characters and all that and the side characters, but they maintain a lot of Woody and Buzz in that one, that it's still very and then even in the third one, they've now integrated the new characters into being what you're also not focused on as much. And it's still, but like all the sequelitis tends to be with the animated movies and why they do so like, Lion King 2. It's nothing. It's not about Simba at all. It's about his kid. And it's like, okay, fine, you can do that. But there's a reason this is a direct to VHS thing. Nobody wants that. But then you learn the complete other wrong lesson, which is, oh, let's just do it live action and much, much worse.
Right.
How did they get to that lesson though? Like,
that's the part I don't understand. Like, well, because even like the live action, quote unquote, live action Lion King is none of that because they're still animated. They're just CGI. Instead,
you know what? The only one that's actually live action was, I think it was 1996, where they did the Jungle Book movie, where they had actual animals and everything.
Right.
That was live action, quote unquote, and nobody's ever seen that movie.
Those were the first. The Cinderella and the Jungle Book ones. Those are the first ones they had, and they were experimental and they were a little bit weird. They did weird things with the elephants. You didn't have British elephants singing with accents. It's great. It was great. They became like cosmic metaphors for the jungle and whatever. I think the Jungle Book worked all right. Yeah, you think you could have
Kenneth Branagh really did a good job on Cinderella.
No, that was Chef. Chef did that one. What's his face?
I have not
Hogan.
watched Cinderella, but to speak.
I think the live action Cinderella is probably the least. It's probably the least offensive of all of them because they were just like, yeah, we're just going to do this for that. It hadn't become a commodity thing to do yet. They were just doing it because whatever.
And those were
something
like from
is
the
experimental
60s.
that is interesting on its own. When something is now, this is a cash cow, and we're going to ruin your childhood. That's
some of them. If you have, you don't have to do a live action one. But if you're going to do a live action one, things where you're mostly human characters, and yes, there are fantastical elements in there, like the mice and or all that stuff that are animated serves a lot better. But if your movie is still like, like Frozen could have been more or less a live action movie if they started it that way with just the animated snowman, for instance. You could have done that. You can't then go from what they did now to now making a live action one, which they're going to do or are doing. I don't even remember at this point. And it's like, why? What is the point now?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I know what the point is. It's going to
Money.
make $1 billion because everyone fucking loves Frozen for some reason.
I just with the whole like you say cash grab, ruined childhood. Kenneth Branagh, directing.
What did he ruin?
Have you
His name wrong
seen?
every time?
I don't know,
Yes.
Kenneth, whatever his name is.
He's from his country. He can pronounce it however he
you
wants.
do his name what EG does to your language, culture, and people.
Because Kenneth Bragh is from his language, people, culture, so he
Oh,
doesn't
is he?
care.
Okay.
He
It's actually pronounced it
ruined Artemis Fowl, which was like one of my favorite book series growing
Oh,
up.
he did that? That's unfortunate.
He ruined it.
God.
He
That thing was apparently so rancid that everybody hated it and forgot about it in like a day.
he fun like shitty movie aside, whatever. Like just the fundamental misconception he had, where he was like, "Oh no, I had to make Artemis a good guy first, and then because like the whole point in the books, he's a bad guy who becomes good. That's his growth. That's his character arc. But in this, he's like good from the start. Kind of falls, and then the redemption was supposed to be, and then he's supposed to redeem himself. But like, it's just you ruined the story. You fucking idiot! I'm really angry about that.
They should do a reboot of Aragon, which was already an awful movie, and have Kenneth Branagh direct it.
Excellent. Yeah.
They should just have a rewrite of the book written by a good author.
Which one? Artemis Fowl or Aragon?
Aragon.
Because I've never read either one of them.
Yeah. No.
You think Christopher Paolini is a bad author?
My joke about that book is that it reads like it was written by a 18-year-old Montana high homeschooler.
Because he was.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, now he's like 40 and has other
I
books.
imagine
that
it's
he's
still
published
better than
that people
Twilight.
liked more.
Right.
So he could
Does he-
rewrite his own book.
Does he cry himself to sleep on his huge piles of money? That's
Yeah.
my question. So. You got him right in his
You know what?
insecurities
I
there.
don't begrudge him
Yeah.
financial success. I just did not enjoy his first book.
Sure.
Maybe not him specifically. But his
So, what did you think about some of his other books?
I did not enjoy his first book enough for me to not want to read any of his other books.
I was going to say,
Well,
what
but-
else did he write other than that series?
There's the
There's something that came out a few years ago that I don't remember. There were advertisements.
What
See,
a
that's
great
kind of like
endorsement.
Reardon and even to a lesser degree Stephanie Meyer. It's like you're known for this one thing, and it's like, wait, you wrote something else? Why?
To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, his big sci-fi book, which got mixed reviews but wasn't received poorly. More lukewarm.
You know what? He's trying to do that, flex that creative muscle. I will still not begrudge him that, but I would want to hear some good word of mouth before I pick up another one of his series. Yeah,
I would be tempted.
It's only been, I would
Like,
say he's probably fundamentally a different person than he was back then.
Oh, he's not 18 years old and from Montana anymore.
you know, I feel the same about the Dresden. I'm probably one of those people who would not have continued to read Dresden Files if I had anything else to do with my life, and I hadn't already checked out the other two books.
So
read the
which
first
book,
one.
like the first one, you were like, no, this is...
Yeah, the first one. And the second was like, this is just one thing after another. It didn't really make much sense. Third one was like, oh, he started a war. Then I read fourth, and fourth's my favorite.
That makes sense because you're really big into Shakespeare. So
Shakespeare. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call myself big into Shakespeare.
you know
No,
what
he's just
bothers
You might
me?
not.
Not yet.
All those fairy queens and not one.
The
of them
fourth is still
quoted
your
old
favorite?
Billy Shakespeare.
After, like,
Fourth, it's up there. I think what my ranking was, fourth, 15th, and maybe is it fifth or eighth or whatever the one is with charity used iodine.
Fifth,
Oh, that's
Death Mask.
that's Death Masks.
Death
That's
Mask,
this
yeah,
book.
fourth.
So we're reading that now, or I am at least. So
Nobody else is doing the homework. Huh?
I don't know actually, but I thought the director might be. She seems to be pacing me a little bit. No,
No, I just have
remembered.
that much memory of the Dresden Files.
Yeah. Mine's been compartmentalized enough that, this is all but new to me. Like, it isn't, but, it's like some of the detail and stuff again. So, but yeah, so that's this book. And then, still pretty much, Turncoat is my favorite. So, but
Still Turncoat.
I do get new appreciation. Well, like Turncoat is, I feel like it all but perfectly encapsulates Dresden, right? In a lot of ways. So, and it highlights, it highlights the stuff that I like about him, right? There's a lot of snark, there's a lot of action, and he's running around doing clever shit. And, e.g., I think we're getting your mic bumped or something. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, Deadbeat, obviously, Skin Game, obviously, like those are way up there, right? But there's something about threatening, your future daughter-in-law about melting her down, and the only thing they can find is her $500 pair of shoes, and kicking a demon's ass up between his ears. Like, those just keep me warm at night. So I don't know. Yeah. But
I mean, it is one of the good ones. Changes maybe mine. I don't know. Either that or Skin Game. I just love the whole heist thing.
Right. Yeah, no, it's and Skin Game is great, right? Because again, it's just Dresden being actually mostly intelligent, and you get to see everybody and the switcheroo they've got with Michael and everything, getting to see Uriel more or less get his hands dirty, figuratively, but all of that stuff, right? It's just I've spent so long putting Deadbeat and Changes out of my list of the running, right? Because they're everybody's favorite books, right? So
Turncoat, yeah, that's okay. Hang on. Yeah. I was trying to think there was another one that I really liked, and it was the one. Turncoat's the one where it's right before Changes, number 11.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's probably one of my favorites. I'd take away 5. I'd put in 11. That's I really like the 15th one. I forget the title. Was it? I just remember it's every 5. Skin Game.
Yeah.
What kind of ruined Skin Game for me was when I saw that Rick and Morty episode about the heist genre. And then I was like, oh no.
Everybody's got a Die Hard. What's a Die Hard?
Oh no.
It was such a good episode.
I got you. No, I planted it. It's like, oh no, that's exactly the trick. And it was so satisfying, and I fell for it. Yeah. But I still like it.
I mean, I'm a sucker for heist. Even after I watched that Rick and Morty episode where I was like, you know what? It's true. I still love Ocean's 11. I like that kind of movie.
Well, the real subversive thing is to write a heist one where it plays out exactly as you see it, and that's just it.
Yeah. So help me out for being an idiot, because I recently watched this Rick and Morty episode, but like, what they just demystified the genre for you? Is that what the problem was?
It's that it's one giant. Don't you dare destroy Morty's dreams of being the screenwriter. He wrote this movie, and that's a reveal at the end. But the time reveals, and I went back in time and I set things up to actually trap you in this situation. I anticipated
right,
and endless one up
said that he's only going to stop writing this by his own disillusionment. So Rick made him disillusioned with all of the heist.
And then Rick at the end of the episode looks right at me and does that, and I'm disillusioned of the entire genre now. I'm disillusioned.
I'm gonna have to rewatch this episode apparently, because this is the one where they're at the arcade, right? And no, we're talking about 2 different ones. That's part of why I'm confused then.
It's because you son of a bitch, I'm in on every 10 seconds, and then everybody does it does the heist things, but turned up to 11 million over and over and over.
Yeah, I'm confused because there's the Die Hard episode. That's where I was. So
I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm
Die
gonna
Hard
have to.
episode. What?
I remember
We're
that.
talking about Rick and
Every
Morty, right?
culture and
They're
every
like-
civilization
Yeah,
ever has a
thank you.
Die Hard story.
They have it basically as a Bible. These aliens like break into the arcade while Morty, I think, is stuck in the life of Rob or whatever the game is, the super hyper
yeah, that's the
realistic
one.
RPG. And then it's like, don't worry about it, Beth. Just do a Die Hard. And then he plugs himself in, and Beth's like, what's a Die Hard? And so the whole time she's just accidentally, ironically doing Die Hard things until the end, in which case the alien boss has been so smug because he's like, well, you would have a gun taped to your back, except that you didn't read Die Hard, but she did, because she got stuck in the bathroom for a little while and she flipped through to the ending, and so she did have a gun taped to the back anyway. So that's also a heist, but apparently I need to go rewatch this other one. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
I think there are
you shouldn't-
episodes of newer Rick and Morty that I have not watched because it
Oh.
kind of.
spoilers.
This,
don't
this
give a
is this
shit
is still
anymore.
pre him getting kicked off, the Die Hard one.
Really?
Sure.
Yes, because
Well,
I have
they've
not
only
watched.
done one
I have
season
not
of
watched
them.
anything after he got removed, and I
Although,
have seen the Die
to be
Hard
fair,
one.
I'm all
like
caught up.
even the stuff from before, he was still that kind of guy. I'm pretty sure, right? That was the whole point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of him getting kicked off is that's
Yeah,
man
no,
who
he
did
was
all
the
those
same
things
person that
previously.
he always has been, and all of a sudden they have a problem with it. But the writing was getting a lot worse in the last season that I had remembered anyway, and so it just like I am not interested, and it's not the same person anymore anyway. So just like I really don't care if it's not like first 2 seasons of Rick and Morty. I don't think I give a shit.
Oh,
don't-
there's
which is a
lot of
shame.
good stuff.
they had kind of a slow burn, slow drip kind of
Yeah.
approach to some kind of long term story. And at this point, I'll just read the wiki.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it just becomes like they're just so blatant about, depending on if you're a fan or not, paying homage or ripping off every other science fiction trope, for the most part. But they also do enough of their own original stuff. But I will say some of my favorite stuff, definitely comes out of 1 and 2. But there's a gem in everything. I think 2 is the one where they have to go on the run, right? And maybe 2 is the heist episode that you guys were talking about, but there's one where like the scene is he's at the garage with the gear mouthed guy, and it's just like it's a quote that I had forgotten until my rewatch, but I was like, I only need you to know 2 things. Never cross me, and it's time to go. And it's just like stuff like that I'm like, I'm in it for. It's like, yes, Rick is a terrible human being. He's a terrible character and everything like that. But when he's brilliant, he's really fucking smart, So
You don't really
The
don't
heist
remember
episode is not in the
episode?
first 2 seasons. It's like in season 4 or something.
okay,
Which it was still like I was paying attention to it, hoping that it would return to what it was.
sure, yeah.
They
Because the
go
one
to
I'm
Heist
thinking of
Con
is,
and everything, and there's the heist robot.
Yes, I got you. Yes, thank you. That's what I needed. Was the
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so Morty Night Run was the name of the episode I was quoting from, but yeah, the whole like, yeah, okay, let's go get a crew. Yeah, there's a lot of episodes, and I watched all of them not too long ago, so it's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry that ruined Skin Game for you. So
No, I mean, not really ruined. It's just that one trick that he does so well. Oh, he went back in time and he anticipated this. I did find to feel like for a guy who keeps getting beaten up, you do have the catharsis of, oh, he finally pulled one over on somebody in advance. He used his
Yeah.
noggin to do something. So
He-
that's part of the enjoyment of it. He's not just a
he got
knucklehead anymore.
advice from a god. I don't feel like that's really the same kind of, trope.
That's
but
true,
you know,
true.
It's. I mean, that episode
it
has
still
not
stays
ruined
in-
heist for me in general. I was aware, I know.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Like the
that's-
double cross, it's obligatory. So
and the doing something earlier that we don't know about set up, and then the reveal, and everything's in the new light. Like the whole
I
thing.
think what makes it more satisfying when you reveal the code he has, and you can reread it, right? And there's that little thing sprinkled in all the interactions he has with, what is that? What's the name of that Grey Goose? Grey Goodman? What's his
Yeah.
name?
Goodman Gray.
Grey Goose.
Goodman Gray, you got
Goodman Gray. There we go.
Yeah.
See, it's been too long.
Right?
Time for
Time
Ben
to
to
Come
reread.
join us. You
Time for a
can tell
reread.
us how you do a bad job directing it. So, because that's what I'm doing.
Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh. What
So-
will Kenneth Branagh do?
Yeah.
Well,
Ruin it.
He'd probably have Thor's hair not match his eyebrows or something. Wasn't that the main outrage of the first movie? So
I think its first movie
Nothing's-
just sucked.
nothing's worse than the
Thor just
Love Thunder
sucked.
Battles.
It was
the
bad.
first movie's fine. Maybe you guys are just too critical. So,
Thor, like from Marvel.
yeah, as
Yeah,
opposed
Thor-
to
Yeah.
Most of the Thor movies have sucked. I enjoyed the
nah,
which was the one.
Okay, first one's
Ragnarok?
mid, second one's trash, third one's really good, fourth one's trash.
thank
The fourth
you.
one's bad. I haven't seen the fourth
Yeah.
one yet. That's unfortunate.
Wait till your kids are like in their like 8 to 10 range, and then go watch it with them, and it'll be fantastic. So,
You know,
That's fair.
currently, her idea of fantastic.
It's Christmas
Is-
trees.
No, oh well, yes, Christmas trees, but is songs called super simple songs,
yes,
and they're
yeah.
super simple.
Yeah.
And so I just have that playing in my background. Every time somebody says, "Oh, you'll enjoy it when your kids get to a certain age," I'll be like, "Will I? Will I really?"
This though you will if you start them. Yeah, let's see. Now it's still too early to start them on a lot of the Marvel stuff, but I don't know. We can compare notes, but yeah, I remember the super simple songs, and our 5-year-old just went through like a reversion of some kind where he started like doing Cocomelon again for like a month, and it's like I still
No!
remember all the words,
Pass it into the darkness.
Yeah,
Nothing.
right.
I mean, it's better than when my head auto completed when I heard he's starting to do
No,
and
yeah.
then I was like, wait, what?
we like cocaine in this family, so yeah. But and then my wife was complaining because she'll let him
Because she's not getting cocaine, or
what she plays on Spotify, and there's like the theme song from one of the Into the Spider-Verse movies, I think, that he just plays on repeat, and that was her top song this year. So
needs his own Spotify account.
that's what she said. But I mean, the other solution is what she only started doing recently, which is like, I will only play this like 35 times, and after that,
If you
you're
have
gonna
a,
pick something else. So.
if you have a 5-year-old and he's still listening to songs like that, maybe he'll like Ukulele Jim.
Wait, hold up.
Yeah, I don't know if we
realized-
need more. I don't know if we need to broaden his horizons
I'm
in
just
the
saying
kids
it's
genre
better.
business. So.
It's better.
Yeah.
It's better.
Don't-
And
This
there's
is why
so many
you
of
sit
those
him
kids'
down and you
music.
force him to watch Aliens and Terminator and Die Hard and just
And then,
rip off
then
his
he won't talk to you
Band-Aid.
for 14 years. Yeah.
The 8-year-old or soon to be 9-year-old is very close to that though, because he keeps sassing me about how ready he is, and it's like, you are not ready, sir. And like I'll share a story offline, but yeah. So there's been a lot of that theme this week. So
You don't have a Spotify family account, or Justin? Do you have
I don't-
individual subscriptions?
yeah, I think we've got individual.
You should get
and
you should-
subscription's a strong word. We've got one subscription, so
Okay. Because you can get family where you can have 6 accounts for $20
sure. Yeah.
if she
I
really
don't think
wanted
the
to just
9-year-old
do it.
has a smartphone though.
Right? Does he? Doubt it.
He does, yeah,
He
but
does.
it's not data enabled, so he can only use it at
Smart.
home or hotspot. So yeah,
I know he has a tablet at least or something like that. So you can also do it there.
yep.
Because I remember tablet talks before, but I didn't know if he has a phone. That was a fair point. Should I take us out?
Take
Not
us out.
not
Right
not
ahead.
not the sniper way, but the
Yeah.
the
But the
This has
Patrick
been an
Stewart-
episode of While We Weren't Recording Way. You can catch us live every Saturday, almost, at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can support us on patreon.com/brokenjars. You get access to our Discord that way. You can join us in Gift Wars. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a comment there about anything you want, really. But, let us know if you want us to talk about anything specific. We might take you up on it.
I do read all of the comments. It just takes me a while, but I do read them. I'll even post them in Discord once in a while.
She does post them in there. Go join us on the Patreon, and you can see for yourself. She posts them there. You can see it in live. I mean, I don't actually know because we have a channel you can't see, but maybe you'll see it.
Alrighty.
I'm not gonna touch that one.